Good morning to all of you here. Good morning to all of you who are watching online. Before we get started this morning, I certainly want to offer my sincere condolences to the family of Marissa Munnis. Of course, the situation is very, very serious, and I join with all of you in support of their family as well as those who are affected by domestic violence. Good morning, media. Thank you for joining me. Yesterday, I formally launched the National Youth Policy, which was the 2020 Throne Speech Pledge. The introduction of this policy not only represents a promise made, but also a promise kept. But it also supports the government's current focus of ensuring social renewal through our community. I certainly want to thank Ms. Henry and her team at the Department of Youth, Sport, and Recreation. They certainly deserve our appreciation for their hard work and focus as they dedicated themselves to producing a high-quality policy. The creation of the National Youth Policy involved extensive feedback and input from our community partners and stakeholder groups. Their discussions with the ministry greatly helped in shaping this critical policy. In short, the aim of the youth policy is to develop as well as to empower Bermuda's youth by creating a unified approach to tackle the range of issues faced by our young people. The policy outlines steps that will provide them with the support that they need, that they can have a positive and productive future. More specifically, the policy identifies 8 policy goals for young people. The first, keeping young people safe and protected from harm. The second, achieve full potential in learning, development, and education. Thirdly, to minimize antisocial behavior. Fourth, to increase employment and entrepreneurship opportunities. 5, to engage youth in sport, culture, and recreation. 6, support young people to be active and healthy. 7, to enable participation in civic engagement. And last but not least, to encourage diversity and inclusion. We want the National Youth Policy to engage Bermuda's young people by harnessing their innovation, by harnessing their ideas and involvement so that they can make meaningful and lasting social, cultural, and economic change. At this stage, we are encouraging members of the community to visit our website, www.youthpolicy.bm, so that they can learn more about what they can do and how they can support our young people through the National Youth Policy. The next step is for us to establish the National Youth Policy Working Group so that these 8 policy goals can be implemented. The working group will consist of young people, representatives from youth organizations, including Bermuda Youth Parliament, and officers from the Department of Youth, Sport, and Recreation. We are also inviting expressions of interest from members of the community to join the working group. If you're interested, please apply online by December 17th at forms.gov.bm/youth policy working group. The final composition of the working group will be decided in February of 2022, and the group will commence construction of a detailed plan of actions as well as deliverables. The youth are our future, and I encourage everyone to read the National Youth Policy and help Bermuda realize the vision of an empowered and engaged youth. This is very, very important now, particularly more than ever. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Jasmine, we'll invite you to share your questions from the Bermuda Broadcasting Company.
Good morning, Minister.
Good morning.
Peets. With the National Youth Policy, I noticed there were more than 40 particular groups involved. Could you describe what it was like sort of bringing all these voices together to create this one plan?
It was a mammoth task, of course, for the Department of Youth, Culture, and Sport, particularly for Nadine and her team at Youth and Rec. A large portion of the work actually started prior to my appointment. So having said that, the duration of this particular youth policy has been in effect at least since 2017 through 2020 regarding consultation. Of course, my appointment happened last year, so I'm certainly grateful when I did receive my appointment to see that this youth policy was certainly in development, and we were certainly committed to making sure that we finished the policy in this last through and speech year.
Thank you. One of the points, the plan promotes healthy living, healthy lifestyles in young people, but as we can anticipate that most will be living with their parents and other guardians, how do you see children following these policies while still being at home?
Well, the youth policy, of course, is setting out some overarching policy goals, from which, of course, the working group will be working together to highlight implementing and those resources needed so that those policy goals can actually be realized. Of course, the pandemic, of course, has been a difficult situation for us all. We're certainly mindful that when we're talking about healthy lifestyles, that is physical, emotional, and spiritual as well.
That's it for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Conley, you have any questions for?
Yeah, thanks.
Questions for the minister?
Hi, Minister. Sean Conley here from the Royal Gazette. What level of funding has been earmarked for this project?
For the project itself,
Yeah, for the policy.
that particular number has not been determined. Of course, right now, the first step going forward is to actually get the working group up and running. We'd like to get that done by February of 2022. Once a working group is formalized and their terms of reference have been agreed upon, then we could begin to get a little specificity around what type of resources that they need. Of course,
Sorry, go on.
yeah. So once the working group is comprised, they will be tasked with some deliverables. At that particular time, they will be able to determine the nature of the resources they need based on the problems that need to be addressed.
Doesn't that present a credibility gap if you don't know how much funding there's going to be? It just sounds like lots of ice cream operational objectives.
Well, right now, there's lots of works that's going on to support our youth. This working group, of course, is going to be tasked with actually making sure all of those resources that are out there in the community, both private, public, are collated and working together in unison so that we can actually better support our youth.
You don't think there's a credibility problem then?
Oh, absolutely not. Most of the individuals who are working with youth are very, very dedicated and passionate. They're also willing to work with others to ensure that this particular policy is going to be realized. So based on what I've seen so far, there has been a lot of interest. So hopefully between now and December, we will get sufficient number of forms received. We will certainly vet those forms and get the working group up and running as quickly as possible.
All right, great. Finally, you expressed condolences for the family of Ms. Lanez at the beginning. What do you say to some advocacy groups who say the government just isn't doing enough for the victims of domestic violence generally?
Well, of course, whenever there's loss of life, there is always some regret as relates to what we could have done and should do. I certainly applaud the public as relates to the outcry regarding this particular incident. Obviously, it's certainly galvanizing our thoughts and our prayers at the moment for the family. But right now, of course, we certainly want to advocate that there is help. And we certainly want individuals who find themselves in situations like that to get help because help is available.
Thanks a lot, Minister.
Thank you very much, members of the media, for your participation this morning. And that concludes today's press briefing.
Thank you.
Thank you.